Hi, this is Michelle, and I am going to be leading you in a lesson today. And I'm going to read something from The Eye of the Storm by Gary Simmons. And I'm also going to read a short play that I wrote that goes right with the talk of the day. Resistance, making friends with conflict. If your soul is a force within you that seeks to push you toward ever-increasing levels of spiritual growth and development, then your resistance to this pressure is what produces discomfort, stress, and ultimately the storm. When you resist the movement of spirit, you create friction, heat, and conflict. When you struggle with conditions that challenge or threaten you, you invariably reinforce their presence in your life. Resistance narrows the path through which the energy of being travels. It manifests itself in consciousness as to the tendency to push away what feels bad or to hold on to what feels good. Resistance is a conditioned aspect of consciousness that has become integrated into your defense mechanisms and coping strategies. Recently, a couple of weeks ago, I was asked to write a short play about how I felt, how I was feeling during this pandemic. And I know we've all gone on this roller coaster ride of, up and down and feeling happy, feeling slightly depressed, feeling alienated, isolated. And there's a group of us who get together regularly and we do yoga and we talk afterwards. And we're part of a theater company, the Road Theater Company that I belong to. And one of the gals said, hey, let's write about our experience during this pandemic. And I wrote a short play, and it's about my grandmother and myself. It's called I've Been Here Before. I never understood why I was the one who had to go away. My mom had 4 kids and 3 husbands. She worked hard to take care of us, but found relief in sending one of us to go live with someone else. 3 kids was all she could manage. Someone had to go live with relatives or go to boarding school. That someone was always me. When I was 10, I was sent to live with my grandmother, Bessie. I left San Francisco, where I was born and raised, and ended up in Murray City, Tennessee, a tiny town in the middle of nowhere. The downtown shopping area was 2 blocks long. We passed through it and kept going. I knew nothing about living in the country. My favorite activities were going to ballet and tap dancing classes and sitting in my room reading. I read about 10 books a week. Walking into my room, Mom said, I just heard another voice in here. You're supposed to be outside. As always, there I was, talking to myself in my triptych mirror, making up stories and different characters. I didn't really like going outside. It was noisy, with too many cars. Now here I was, going to live with someone I barely knew. After an hour, the car stopped. All I saw was a tiny house across from a huge cotton field. Grandma Bessie came out to the car and welcomed me into her house. Where are the other houses? Honey, this is Murray City. Why do they call it a city if there's only one house? There are other houses, you just can't see them. I walked into Grandma's house. It was so quiet. Living in San Francisco was so vibrant and busy. At night, I heard the soothing sounds of the foghorns. Here at night, I would lie in bed and hear the sounds of creatures that I couldn't even identify. They howled outside. They would start screeching as they caught their prey. I had no idea what they were, but I knew they weren't human beings. I was scared. Do they ever get inside? Sometimes. I missed the twinkle in Grandma's eye. For months, I read books and sat looking out the window, taking in all around me. I didn't fight it. I just stayed still, waiting, and waiting to go back to my family. Grandma was so kind. She knew it was hard being away from my other 3 siblings. Her steady love helped me learn to be by myself, even though I yearned to be with my family. Without realizing it, I was learning to be happy, calm, and loving. One day, Grandma said, "Let's go pick strawberries." Pick strawberries? Didn't strawberries come from the grocery store in little boxes? Grandma took an empty Cheerios box and we went out back to her garden. Look how bright these berries are. Don't they look delicious? They're ready to pick. I didn't move. Go ahead, pick one. I started to pick a berry off the branch and it squished into my hand. Ew, now my hand's all dirty. Try it like this. Give it a quick snap and gently put it in the box. Snap. And a perfect strawberry was in my hand. We filled the box all the way to the top. Let's go eat dinner. I made us a nice stew. What should we have for dessert? Strawberries! What a good idea. After dinner, we each had a delicious bowl of strawberries that we had picked ourselves. Going to school. Yikes. A new place, new people. Grandma told me to get ready the night before. Put out the dress you want to wear. I chose a dress and laid it on the bed. It needs ironing. The iron's on the shelf in the kitchen. I went and got the iron and brought it back to Grandma. Here it is. Honey, I'm not ironing it for you. You have to do that yourself. I don't know how. Oh, I'll teach you. Really? Mickey, you have to do things for yourself. That was the last time I ironed. I just didn't take to it. Living in Murray City opened my horizons. I learned about nature and space and quiet. Love isn't things or big houses or fancy chandeliers. Real love is accepting. It's simple, gentle, and compassionate. Being you is enough. Being me is enough. I was happy living with my grandma. Her love was unwavering, constant, and to the moon and back. I felt her love every moment and will for the rest of my life. I feel her often when I am outside amongst all living things. When I moved to LA, I needed to find a home that had trees and green foliage around it. Having nature around me brought solace to my soul. I saw a listing on Craigslist. Up on a mountain, quiet, private, and with views of the foothills. 2-bedroom, 2-bath, separate rental cottage. As I drove up a steep, winding road, I saw the house number. The house was way down a long, steep driveway and sat on its own level. Lots of space outside. I opened the door and went through a small living room and right out onto an enormous patio. I heard an owl hoot. My heart stopped. It was so close. That's my grandma. She's telling me this is your home. My breath started slowing down, and I started to relax. The first house I looked at is the one I bought. Our current pandemic has been my latest reset button. In 48 hours, everything changed. It has kept me at home. Just like when I went to live at my grandma, the blessing of nature and silence has given me the opportunity to reset my life. In both cases, when I was a child and now, I've had to stop and discover a new world, both inside and out. During this time, where I live has helped so much. Every day, I make sure I do something in each room. There is a different view out of every window, and it makes me feel as though I'm going somewhere. I spend time in my garden and just sitting on my patio under the roof, relaxing in a nice, comfortable chair with my 3 dogs, Arf, Woof, and Gur, listening to the nearby owl hoot. And I read, and I count my blessings. In my daily meditations, I reflect on my experience of living with my grandma. Learning to be happy by being by myself was such a valuable lesson. I am so grateful now that I have learned it. At 14, 4 years after I left Grandma's house, I felt an overwhelming need to tell Grandma I loved her. I sent her a Halloween card. I hadn't spoken to her since I moved back home and then on to another boarding school. But her love and truth was always with me. Grandma made her transition a month later. Before she left this physical world, she wrote each of her 9 children a letter. In the letter to my mother, she mentioned how much she loved getting a card from me and how much it meant to her. My latest reset button, this pandemic, is learning to live in oneness with God every moment of every day. The seed of knowing the strength of divine spirit was well planted by my beloved grandmother. We are all in this together. Living with God makes it easier to reach out to others. I join others on Zoom in classes 4 times a week and have many spirit-lifted phone calls with my family. I enjoy the connections and the camaraderie. This pandemic has brought me gratitude for my blessings, knowing that I am enough. God is, and all is well. And I hold each person that has had any sadness in their lives in prayer, and knowing that my heart reaches out to you. And for your being here, I say thank you. And so it is.